This is CNN Breaking News.
It is 7 o'clock here in New York. I'm Poppy Harlow. We begin this hour with breaking news out of our nation's capital. We have just heard that something extraordinary will happen tomorrow, an event so rare and so history-making that President Obama has only done it twice in his entire time in office. The President of the United States will address the nation from inside the Oval Office. It will happen at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Of course, CNN will carry this presidential address live. Let's go straight to CNN's Chris Freites. He joins me live in Washington this evening. We've just learned about this in the last few moments. Do we know what the president will say, what he is focusing on tomorrow night?
Hey, Poppy, yeah, we're getting some indication of that. But as you say, really big breaking news out of the White House tonight. President Obama will make a rare address to the nation tomorrow night at 8 o'clock about what the government is doing to keep Americans safe. The Oval Office address will also touch on the investigation into the ISIS-inspired attacks in California that killed 14 people earlier this week. The White House said Obama will also address, quote, the broader threat of terrorism, including the nature of the threat, how it has evolved, and how we will defeat it. He will reiterate his firm conviction that ISIL will be destroyed and that the United States must draw upon our values, our unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and freedom to prevail over terrorist groups that use violence to advance a destructive ideology. Now, Poppy, the news comes on the heels of a meeting the president held with his national security team this morning. The White House says the president's team updated him on the investigation into the California shootings and highlighted several pieces of information that point to the attackers' radicalization to violence. Now, we already know about one piece of evidence suggesting radicalization. That was a Facebook post by the female shooter pledging allegiance to the leader of ISIS. Now, during the briefing, and which that briefing included the FBI and CIA directors, the Attorney General, and the Homeland Security Secretary, the White House said officials reiterated that there is no evidence yet that the killers were part of a larger terrorist cell. Remember, on Friday, the FBI said it was investigating the attacks as an act of terrorism. And Poppy, people will be watching what the president has to say about that and the investigation more generally tomorrow night, as well as listening to hear how the president plans to deal with the larger issue of defeating ISIS. So that's what we have tonight, Poppy. Lots of big breaking news here in the nation's capital. Lots of eyes on the White House tomorrow night as well.
No question. Chris Freites, thank you very much. We, of course, will carry that live for you here on CNN. I want to go straight to CNN senior political analyst David Gergen, an advisor to 4 presidents with very unique perspective on something like this. David Gergen, as we heard from Chris, this has happened only twice in this president's term in office. It happened both times in 2010, first announcing the end of U.S. combat operations in Iraq, second after the Gulf oil spill. David Gergen, how big is this?
It's big, Poppy, because President Obama has been reluctant to use the Oval Office. His predecessors have used it far more frequently to address the country, all of which suggests that this is a major speech, and also suggests, I believe, and Doug Brinkley might confirm this, it suggests that he's going to be coming forward with some action steps, whether it be in the field, in the Middle East, or whether it be here at home, to come to the nation at 8 o'clock in an evening on a Sunday night from the Oval Office means it's going to be about more than reassurances that we're safe and he's taking actions or steps in the past. And to talk about the past, he's really got to set forward something. Because the expectations are going to be 8 o'clock, the Oval Office, President Obama, it's got to be big.
Absolutely. David Gergen, if you were writing this speech, you've been inside the rooms making these decisions before with other presidents. What does the nation need to hear from its commander-in-chief?
Well, it needs to know that, first and foremost, that people want to know, are my kids going to be safe? And the second thing they want to know is, am I going to be safe? And so he has to give assurances that this is going to improve people's personal security. There's a lot of fear in this country right now. It's almost reminiscent of 9/11. I think the level of fear is about that same level as before. But it's I must tell you that I think that in order to convince people, he's going to have to take some bold steps. I doubt it means boots on the ground in the Middle East, but it certainly must mean a crackdown on potential for domestic terrorism, homegrown terrorism, or people coming in from overseas. This is going to be hard for him now to convince the country that we should take in refugees from Syria.
Right.
It's going to make that case a lot harder. So he's got I don't think he can go and give a bland address of 12 minutes. I just don't think that works. He's got to do something that's got some crack to it.
David, the context of this announcement, we're learning this today, just a few hours after he had that meeting with his national security team today. One would think, did that contribute to this decision to make an announcement? Can you take us into the process with the president and his senior advisors when you say, all right, we're going to make only the third Oval Office address in your presidency, potentially the last Oval Office address in his presidency, right? He doesn't have that much more time in office. How do you come to that decision?
Well, I think the first decision is going to be, what is it you want to achieve? And I would assume as soon as they've learned that there were some terrorist ties with this couple in San Bernardino, that the president said to all his advisors, they got together and said, okay, look, we've got to take steps here. The country's going to be scared by this, and we've got to do some concrete things. You guys come up with a list. Let's come up with a menu of options. And then this morning they got together and probably down in the Situation Room, perhaps somewhere else in the White House, in which they reviewed what those steps might be. And they came to a decision, okay, we've got a concrete action plan. Now let's decide how to announce it. And I would assume the action plan is big enough, they thought, well, this deserves an Oval Office.
David Gergen, thank you so much for that. Again, you'll be with us tomorrow night. There will be special coverage here hosted by my colleague Wolf Blitzer tomorrow night. That special coverage begins at 7 p.m. ahead of this Oval Office address, which we will carry for you live in its entirety at 8 p.m. David Gergen, our entire political team, will be with us tomorrow night for that. Thank you very much. Also, I want to take you now.
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.